We are Talkin Baseball, NorthJerseySports.com's original multimedia series, talking all things baseball across North Jersey. This is Season 5, Episode 4, and we are deep into the postseason now, talking Bergen County Tournament, little Passaic County Tournament, eyeing the state tournament. Lots of things on the agenda. I am Corey Doviak, being joined by a great guy to talk about it all with, who has a new nickname this week. And now this one, usually, I'll be fair to myself, I've come up with some pretty good nicknames for my co-host here on Talkin Baseball, but this one was sent over by text by the guest that we will have on later in the show, Joey, Anger Management, Cetera. How you doing, pal?
That's I was on that text, and I quite honestly don't understand why, because I am so far from that, especially this afternoon. All it was back and forth about what time we were going to do the show. Eddie had the same situation I did, yet I'm being called angry. I don't understand it.
Would you like me to explain it to you, Joe? Would you like me to explain what happened to you? I can pull up. I'm sure
the listening audience would like to. So go ahead, Cor.
Okay. So here we go. It's a text conversation between Joey, Anger Management, Cetera, and Ed Ahearn, a well-known umpire around North Jersey, who will be our guest on the show this evening. So we're trying to, we're doing a little show prep. We're being responsible. We're trying to arrange times, dates, get everybody's schedule clear so we can come out and do really the best show possible for everybody that likes to listen to Talkin Baseball. And, as we found out, we've known it, but, the audience continues to grow here on Talkin Baseball.
It's not because of you. It's not because of me and you. It's because of the people that we've had on. Although last week it was just me and you, so maybe there's hope. Yeah. There's hope.
No, I think it's me and you. So
okay.
I was accosted at a game by a listener who wanted to tell me how much he enjoyed. I won't mention any names. He wanted to tell me how much he enjoyed it, and I got fearful, Joe. I don't mind telling you. I got nervous. I was looking for a security guard or an exit or something. But we are glad that people are enjoying this episode. But now let me get back to it. So, it started innocuously enough. Ed had a soccer practice. He wasn't going to be available until after 7 o'clock. So the exact tweet reads, 8:30, ?
Wait, let's be clear. It wasn't a tweet. I don't do Twitter. I don't tweet.
Right.
It was a text.
Text. Group text. Joe Cetera,
yes.
Ed Ahearn, and myself. I innocuously text back 8:30, ? Okay. The next two texts come from Joey, Anger Management, Cetera. One says blank that, followed 18 seconds later by two blank late. I don't want to be on the phone until 10 o'clock. That, uncalled for, overly aggressive, and it's 7:45, Joe, as we tape this here on Tuesday night. So you save 45 minutes and you burst a blood vessel. You all right, pal?
Well, the problem is, that when we do this show, it's not a 20-minute thing, and as we speak, I'm home alone with the boys, dodging wiffle balls in my backyard. Nice night out. I got showers that have to happen with these kids. I have homework that has to get done. I got a lot of things to do, and unlike you, I need to get stuff done, so I can't be on the phone at 8:30, wrapping it up at 10, and listening to the nonsense that I have to listen to when that stuff happens. So I, very nicely, I thought, asked, can we please do the show earlier?
Maybe it's just a perception problem of what you consider very nicely asking and what I consider very nicely asking. Anyway, let's get into some baseball talk here because, the weather has started to turn and it has cooperated, and I have been able to get out and see a plethora of games, a plethora of teams. I've been trying to do it all year long, but I actually feel like I've seen some people. And, starting with, just go over my schedule quickly. Last Wednesday in the opening round of the Bergen County Tournament, Pascack Valley against Midland Park. I hadn't seen either team leading up to that game, and I was glad that I went because I got to see in person Pascack Valley's left-hander, Jake Clagg, who, listen, Midland Park and Frank Clark, their tremendous head coach, said it to me after the game. He said maybe they're a year or so ahead of schedule. You know, he moved over from Waldwick, took the Midland Park job, led them into the tournament itself, which is an accomplishment for any NJIC team, let alone one like Midland Park that's, had 3 head coaches in the last 4 years, and Frank had them in there. They played well. It was 4-1, but Jake Clagg, the left-hander, his final pitch of the day, his 110th pitch, was 87 miles an hour. So, and he was dealing all day. Control, a little bit of a problem for him, a couple of walks and maybe threw a couple more pitches than he needed to. But he's just another one to add to the list, as we've been talking about all season now, of legitimate number 1 starters and very good potential college players running around here on the diamonds of North Jersey, Joe.
Yeah, I haven't seen the kid Clagg throw, but Frank, when we played Midland Park Friday, and we were just talking before the game, and he was absolutely raving about him. Everything from velocity just to the way the kid competed on the mound when he struggled, how he worked through things. So,
yes.
Again, like you said, it's just another arm. I think we said it a couple of shows ago. We say it every week. It just seems as though there are more. The county is pretty deep in terms of arms. So, no surprise that there's another one, especially up there at Pascack Valley.
Yes, and then that leads right into where I went on Saturday. As I said on the show last week, if Ramapo got by Bergen Tech in the first round of the tournament last Wednesday, and if it was going to be Casey Hunt against any of the big arms for Pascack Hills, I showed up. It was Ryan Ramsey for Pascack Hills, who, another dominant left-hander, a junior, already committed to the University of Maryland, and boy, is he good. He throws a tailing fastball. He's a lefty, so his fastball, for the most part, which he throws in the upper 80s when he's moving it like that, tails away from the right-handed hitter, and then his curveball drops in toward the right-handed hitter. Wide separation in the velocity. He's got good hard stuff. He's got good breaking ball. I stood behind the backstop for an inning or two with our friend TJ Hunt, who we had on the show a couple of weeks ago, and just raving about Ryan Ramsey. I mean, really a legit power arm here, who can get it into the 90s, but he's not all about just trying to throw the ball by it. He moves it around, and
he's a pitcher.
Yep.
He's a pitcher. I saw him against Dumont, and he just understands the game. Like you said, not that he struggled in terms of his control against Dumont, but when he wanted to take a little bit off, he knew when to do it. Like you said, his differential is very good, and you also pointed out the movement that he has, and for those that know baseball, Corey, thank God you pointed out that a left-handed fastball will tail away from a righty, and a left-handed breaking ball will dive down and into a right-handed hitter. So yes, he does have an excellent fastball. He does have a very good breaking ball, and there's a difference. He's not just a thrower. The kid knows how to pitch, and you see that in a couple of batters that he faces. So they're tough, man. Hills is definitely tough.
I detected a note of condescension in your voice when you handed me that.
Is that the same as sarcasm? I was just being sarcastic.
Yes.
That's all I was saying.
Well, what do I know? I'm a high school baseball reporter. I just show up at fields. I don't know what I'm talking about. I asked the kids at the end of the game. I'm no scout. I can tell you this. Ryan Ramsey, good. Also good was Casey Hunt. He was dealing in the low 90s. I mean, Ramapo just not clean behind him. And it was unfortunate because it took away from the pitcher's duel. I mean, errors. And, with all of the arms that Pascack Hills has, what is lost in the translation is that they are also very good offensively. And defensively, for that matter. They don't make a lot of errors. And, yes, they're not going to sit back and wait for the 3-run homer, but they play very fundamental baseball. They move runners. All the kids are situationally aware. Moving guys up. They're waiting for that one-line drive that can maybe knock in 2 after moving 2 guys up with a bunt or something like that. So, The number 2 seed in the Bergen County Tournament, living up to its billing here, heading into the quarterfinals, where they will play Fairlawn. And Joe, I hate to bring it up, the Cutters. They got you last Wednesday, huh?
You took the words, you took the team right out of my mouth. I was going to say that we faced the kid Ryan Rue. I think that's how you pronounce his last name, unless it's Rui. It's Rue. I will tell you that going in, he lived up to everything that we had heard about him in terms of, again, being a quality arm, left-handed kid. But what impressed me about them, and then they followed it up against Paramus.
Yep.
As the game was going on, we were talking about, the kid that they had on the mound, Ryan Rue, was impressive, no question. But what was just as impressive about them was their offense, and they were not weak 1 through 9. I mean, they did a nice job of putting a bat on the ball. They put long, tough at bats together. They did a good job with 2 strikes, fighting off pitches, and coming up with clutch hits when they needed it. And yeah, we dropped that one 5-1, and then I think they went on and beat Paramus 6-4. So, another team that is playing very solid, good fundamental baseball with a solid arm. 2 arms, actually. I don't know the name of the kid. I think he played first base against us. I want to say it's Bosher or Bosher. There's another kid that they have that beat Paramus. So they don't just have one arm either. They have a couple arms that can beat you on a given day. So, playing good baseball at the right time.
Fairlawn is... I just wrote the story from the softball angle last week, but it's that, you don't know what to make of them because they play in an all Passaic County League. They're playing, Passaic Valley, West Milford, Wayne Valley, Wayne Hills.
They won their league too, didn't they? They won that league, didn't they?
But they have very few common opponents. You don't know how to slot them. And, you guys had such a great run. You had the most wins in Bergen County going into the cutoff and all those things, and you got a well-deserved number 10 seed. But, thank you. Fairlawn and Ryan Rue going to Hofstra, coming to the blue turf down there with the Blue Devils. That was a tough matchup for you guys. And again, it shows the separation. And it's not... I don't know how to say it, Joe. You got one NJIC team left in the quarterfinals. I don't mean to offend you or hurt your feelings, but there's a little bit...
My feelings don't get hurt. I get angry, remember? I get angry.
Yeah. There's a little more depth in the Big North than in the NJIC, but... Oh, go ahead.
Without question. We spoke about it. We spoke about it last week. We said anybody that says any different, it's not a knock on any Group 1 team. It's not a knock on the Group 2 teams. It's the smaller schools are not as deep. The big schools are in tough conferences. I mean, even you look at a team, for example, take a team like Bergen Tech. You don't really hear that much about them. They're having a very good year this year. They were in it with Ramapo. You don't hear about it, but I will tell you that I haven't seen them play. But if you put that team against a Group 1 or a Group 2 team that doesn't see what they see on a given on a daily basis, there's a difference there. There's a difference there. When a Group 1 is going and facing a kid like Ryan Rue or the kid Ramsey or somebody of that, Casey Hunt, we don't see that on a given basis, like on a daily basis. The Group 1 teams, they may have one kid, they may have 1 and 1A, but they don't have that depth and they don't have that that true standout like we mentioned in the kids that we've spoken about so far. So it's not a knock on anybody. It doesn't mean that the NJIC teams are not good baseball teams. I'll tell you, we think we're a very good team. We think we've seen Emerson, we've seen Park Ridge, we've seen Walbrook, we've seen them in scrimmages. We've seen a lot of teams that they're good baseball teams, but there's a difference. And we said it as a coaching staff. When you play, we said it against Fairlawn, when you play against a team like that, we made a couple of mistakes that when you give teams like that extra outs or you give teams like that free passes, more often than not, you're going to find yourself paying for it at some point in the game.
Even if it just shows up an extra pitch is thrown, which gets your number one out of there early, or in turning over the lineup for the other team and giving them a couple extra at bats.
100%. And anybody that's involved in high school baseball and has a sense of competition and has a sense of depth and has a sense of numbers and the difference between the small schools and the big schools, if you think it's anything other than being realistic, it's a mistake, because that's all it is. You got to play a perfect game when you're a small school against a big school. You got to play a complete game. Pitch well. You got to hit well. You got to run the bases well. You can't make mental mistakes, and it's tough. It makes it that much tougher when you play those schools. So, but that's the game. That's the game. That's the beauty of sports and of competition, and why it's a good thing. It's a good thing.
Yes, and I want to get back to the NJIC because, my previous statement aside, there's nothing more fun than small school baseball, especially what's going on in this NJIC Patriot division here. Week and a half left. I covered Park Ridge Waldwick yesterday, and I'll get to that. But I just want to finish off what we're talking about here with the Bergen County tournament. We say there's a separation between the NJIC and the Big North, and then there's a separation between the public school Big North and the non-public Big North. We've heard a lot about, we've looked a lot, seen a lot of results, we've seen a lot of close games, we've seen some losses by the big boys, but then you turn around, people saying, well, the gap is narrower this year than it's ever been, somebody's going to knock off one of the big three, Bosco, Bergen, or Joe's, and you turn around in the quarterfinals, and all three are still standing. St. Joe's obviously had its hands full with Rutherford team. Rutherford pushed them to extra innings. Again, it's baseball. The bottom line is you got to get the W over some of the, you got to win. It's not enough at this point of the season to say you played well against a non-public team. If
victory.
Right. If this is the year that somebody's going to beat a parochial, then somebody's going to have to beat a parochial.
Right.
I
agree. I mean, it's been talked about for God knows how long. They've always been, I guess, for the lack of a better term, they've always been the ones with the targets on their back. And I think we said it. The gap is closed this year. I think it is. I mean, you look at some of the publics that are left, and you go talk to any of those three parochials, and I doubt that they're taking anybody in the tournament, public or non-public, lightly. I mean, it's just you go out there and everybody's level, every public school's level is raised when they go out there, because that public school that's playing wants to be the one to knock them off. And it's what's great about competition. It really is. It's a tribute. It's the ultimate compliment when you're everybody's championship, whether it is a championship game or it's a regular season game. When you have the bar set that high and you're the team that people are coming for, there's no better feeling when you step on the field as that team with the target on your back, and there's no better feeling going out there and trying to overcome that challenge and knock them off. So again, it's any sport, any level. It's what's great about the game.
I remember last week we were trying to remember who the kid from Richfield Park was who no-hit St. Joseph's and Rob Kaminsky. Weren't we talking about that on the show?
Yeah.
At some point. Through our good friend Chris Gaskin, the Richfield Park assistant baseball coach, head basketball coach, that kid's name was Derek Highland. So,
okay.
Yes, okay. He's the one who did it. And what you say is, what you said about, how the NJIC team has to play perfect, then the Big North public has to do the same against the parochials. Like, there's only good pitching left. Whoever wins that Pascack Hills Fairlawn game, you're going to have a Ryan Ramsey, a Jack Brodsky, or a
Ryan Rue.
Well, I'm saying on the Pascack Hill side, it's going to be Brandon Siegenthaler. Right. If Pascack Hills gets through, it's going to be one of those three guys. If Fairlawn gets through, it's going to be Ryan Rue. And they will get a shot at St. Joe's winner against Mawa. Mawa's got a legitimate number one. So every team left here, and this is where I'm starting to get excited about the change made in the tournament, where we don't have to worry about that one weekend where do I pitch my ace in the semifinals and have 2 or less left for the final. This year, it's going to be 1-1-1 for the next 3 weeks, and it's going to be a lot of fun to see how this thing all plays out. We got to talk about Waldwick, though, Joe. The pride of the NJIC right now, 2 road upsets. The number 24 seed, the last team seeded in the tournament, goes on the road, wins round 1, goes on the road, wins round 2. And they get a shot at Don Bosco. And it's an interesting little side note because the head coach now at Waldwick is Mark DeMena. The former head coach at Don Bosco Prep, also Mark DeMena.
One of the greatest guys, if you know Mark, and you know the type of guy he is, aside from his baseball knowledge, I think it goes, a lot of people are very happy to see him back in baseball as a head coach. He never left baseball, but as a head coach. And for a guy to... It's kind of ironic that he's going back and facing Don Bosco.
Yeah, and they're going to go out and give it the old college try here. But moving on to the NJIC, because I showed up, sometimes I look at the schedule, where should I go today, what game? Yeah, for some reason, Park Ridge Waldwick just stuck out to me yesterday. So I went down to Park Ridge, 19-minute delay before the game, Joe, because an umpire's chest protector broke. That's unacceptable.
We can ask Eddie about that. We can ask Eddie about it.
I mean, Joe, you got things to do. I got kids. They got homework. I got to get home. You can't have a guy. And at Park Ridge, too, you got to park all the way across the creek. He's got to go out to his car.
I love that. You know what, though? I got to be honest with you. We were there a couple of weeks ago. I love that field. They have done a great job with it. I know you got to walk a little bit, but so what? It was a great field. They've done a good job with it. I love going there and playing. I really do.
Yeah, you don't love it when the umpire breaks his chest protector and has to walk back to his car, get another one, and then come back and start the game 19 minutes late. But hey, that's neither here nor there.
He didn't jog back to his car?
Joe, it wasn't even a waltz. It was a walk. It was a walk to the car.
But you know what? Maybe we can ask Ed. Ed, both teams, all games, all the umpires. Let's go. Hustle on, hustle off. Hustle off.
Little hop.
So now my chest protector breaks, and I'm not going to jog it. I'm going to walk it.
Right. Not right.
The game can't start without me, guys. The game can't start without me.
Right. It's all about, as the great Joe Gambardella once said to me, standing behind him while he was in the third base coaching, in the first base dugout coaching Pascack Hills, and an umpire made a questionable call and did so emphatically. He turned around and he said, "Hey, Corey, you came here to see this umpire today, right?" So that guy walks out. He comes back with a grand entrance. Everybody's happy to see him. Blah, blah, blah. Play ball. Anyway.
All right, boys, let's go. Let's go already.
Right, let's go. Coming down.
All right, let's go. That's 5. Throw it down, catch.
Right. So when the game finally gets going, it turns out to be a good one. Park Ridge wins it 4-3. Vinny Pinto, the number 9 hitter for Park Ridge, their football quarterback, he's a sophomore, been struggling offensively. He had a bloop hit, and it's the shortest fly ball that I've ever seen land for a base hit without an error. I mean, the third baseman was playing deep. He had no shot. It went up in the air and came down about 30 feet up down the third baseline. You couldn't have dropped it any better. So anyway, 2 at-bats later, he comes up with in the bottom of the 6th, against McNamara, Spencer McNamara, the great pitcher from Waldwick, going to Post University. It's his last batter. He's running up against the pitch count, and Vinny Pinto ropes a 2-out run-scoring double that gives Park Ridge the 4-3 win. A great game to watch. And then I go talk to Pete Crandall after the game, and he catches me up on what's going on in that NJIC Patriot Division. First of all, Park Ridge, down the stretch of the season here, we got a week and a half left. They got 9 games in 11 days. They're playing Cresskill at the Boulder Stadium. Saturday they're going to Wayne Valley to play an independent game. Who knows why? They got all Indian Hills still on the schedule. Plus they had to turn around and play Emerson today, which I understand they won 2-1. It was a 3-way tie between Midland Park, Emerson, and Park Ridge as of yesterday, meaning Monday after results. I don't know where it stands now, but I do know that Park Ridge is 1 game up on Emerson because they beat them today. It's wild in the NJIC. So if you want to, like I said earlier, there's that separation between the Big North and the NJIC. There's a separation the other way, swinging in favor of the NJIC when it comes time to talk about league title races, because they have bigger leagues. The Big North has broken itself down into 5 leagues at a time. You play 10 league games. The thing's over on April 15th. They play each other back to back. This NJIC Patriot thing's going to go on for the next week and a half. It's going to be a lot of fun to follow.
It is, and again, it's all relative. The Big North teams beat themselves up day in and day out, and the Group 1s, I mean, the NJIC teams are beating each other up in the same. I mean, you're going out there and
you mix in a Patterson charter every now and again, Joe. Come on.
Understandable, but at the same time, we're talking about, if you're talking about that league and those 3 teams, they are evenly matched. We played all 3 of those teams that you mentioned. We played, recently, most recently Emerson on Sunday, which was, a great game. But again, it's all relative, and teams just go out there, they compete against each other, they do the best they can, and I kind of like the fact that it's strung out a little bit in the NJIC. I mean, our league is the same way. We still have 5 left with St. Mary's, I think, next Wednesday. So, we're in a position where we have to win out and play them. And if they win out, and we could beat them, we wind up with the share of our league title. So it's good.
Who are you fighting for? Who are you fighting for the league title? Who are you fighting for the league title? Who's in the league title? I mean, with St. Mary's in your division?
Yeah, it's St. Mary's is in first place right now. They haven't lost in our league, and we have 1 loss to them. So, we have a very tough kid that's thrown against us tomorrow from Becton. Last name's Bowl. I think he's their quarterback, and he's pretty legit. I don't know if anybody knows much about him, but
I don't know.
No, he's good. So if you're not doing anything, Becton Woodridge tomorrow, down at the turf.
Old Tappan, Pascack Valley softball senior day in Old Tappan, Joe. Come on.
Okay. All right. I'll see you next week then.
Yes. You said the 3 teams in the Patriot, and then you add Waldwick. Waldwick is still left playing. They're in the quarterfinals of the Bergen County Tournament. They're in 4th place in that league. So it does speak well for the NJIC.
Yeah, absolutely. Good league.
All right.
Good small school league.
Anything else you want to get off your chest here before we bring in our distinguished guest this evening on this edition of Talkin Baseball?
No. Let's get it going. Let's get Eddie on. Let's get him.
All right, Joe. Well, then let's move on to our distinguished guest this evening on this edition of Talkin Baseball, sponsored by Christopher Trainer, the best real estate agent at the Keller Williams organization, a proud sponsor here on NorthJerseySports.com. Now we welcome in a man who started a Twitter war with North Jersey, at North Jersey. He is Ed Ahearn. Ed, thank you for the kind words, and thank you for joining us here on Talkin Baseball.
Gentlemen, I appreciate it. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, so would you like to badmouth the coverage of the other publication formerly known as the Bergen Record? You want to take it here?
Well, I think I did my part, and, when they replied, I saw you get a little testy with them, so I figured we'd shut it down, and it was... I think I got the point across. I mean, they tried fighting back, saying that they covered the Bergen County Tournament.
Right.
A couple paragraphs about 1 out of 8 games. That's a great job.
I didn't mean to sandbag you, Ed. That just came to my mind here. But we want to talk to you about umpiring things. And Joe Sutera has been, he's been bothering me. Joe, this better be good, because all day with I got a list. I got things I want to talk to Eddie about. Go ahead, Joe. Go.
My nickname, you guys give me nicknames.
Joey shouldn't need a list. He was an umpire. I mean, he couldn't act it for 1 year, so he went back to coaching, but he shouldn't have a list of things he needs to know.
That was back in the day when he was...
way too high with all you guys. I couldn't live up to it. I bailed and went back to coaching. I'm a guy who does a lot of self-reflection.
Self-promotion, you mean?
I thought you were going to say self-promotion. Okay.
No, not self-promotion. Nope. Let me tell you, I was recruited for this show. I was recruited 4 or 5 years ago for this show. I did not ask for this.
I don't know. My memory.
That'll work.
I couldn't hack it. I couldn't hack it as Joey Face Mask, so for now went back. But this week, you guys called me Joey Anger Management or whatever.
Yes.
This week, it's Joey Compassion. And I think what I feel is a way for me to give back for how difficult I was told I could be at times on the field. It's a way for me, I still gave a lot of thought about it, to give back to the umpires and the BCUA. So, Eddie, I've been very excited about having you on the show. I said this last year, and Corey blew it off, and he said, "Who wants to listen to an umpire?" And again, I said, "No, I think you got to do it for a lot of reasons." So, I have some questions for you that I think will clear a lot up and alleviate maybe some problems that you get from parents that think they can put the gear on and do the job that you guys do.
Bingo. Key word right there is what you said, parents. Because, from a personal standpoint, coaches, players, 99.9% of them don't give me or, the rest of the BCUA, guys, an issue. But a lot of it is from the guy 275 feet away down the left field line who's paying for his kid to get personal hitting instruction and stuff, and a $400 bat, the kid doesn't swing it, but hey, Blue, you suck.
Hey, it's 275 feet down the left field line. Hey, hey, Blue, that hit the corner.
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly it.
No, and you know what though? It has manifested itself in a lot of ways. A lot of guys that I know who used to umpire baseball have moved over to the softball side. A, you get out of there quicker, and B, it's a little bit more of a genial atmosphere around. I'm not saying it's a major problem we're having in on the baseball side of the CUA. A lot of the guys who've been in it for a while are migrating over to softball. Like you said, you get 2 good pitchers, you're out of there in an hour and 10 minutes. Yep.
And they changed the fees the past couple of years. They're getting $6 less than we are. So if you're an older guy, you don't want to move too much, you don't want to commit the time, why wouldn't you do softball? I mean, it's an easy thing, for me to say, these older guys and stuff like that. But I'll tell you this now. I'll tell both of you, I will never, ever do softball. It's not me.
Yeah.
Well, that's why I do it. I don't do it, for the money. I don't, it's my love. Baseball is, I get out of work. I'm supposed to get out of work at 4 o'clock. I use half hour, 45 minutes of vacation time every day to go do a high school baseball game. My wife thinks I'm a moron, but I don't do any other sports. I don't do football. I don't do, volleyball, these other stuff. Baseball is my thing. So that's why I do it. But a lot of guys don't have the love for the game. They do it, second income and stuff like that. So they're migrating towards football. So we need baseball umpires badly.
Yeah, and the guy 275 feet down the left field line also thinks you're a moron, but
of course.
But it is a coach that we all know tried to schedule a game for a Saturday, and there were just no umpires available. I mean, you had county tournaments going on all over the place, and they didn't have anybody to send, so it is a big issue. And what you just said there about you getting out of work early, taking vacation time, all these things to show up at a field to do the best job you can. Listen, it's hard to umpire a baseball game. You don't realize it. I remember, it's probably going back 10 years ago, back when Sports Illustrated was a thing, and Tom Verducci did a whole take on, he put on the shin guards and got out there, and actually not. I think he was a third base umpire, and he could not believe, again, he was umpiring professional baseball players. Everything moves faster, but you could not believe the speed of the game and the split, the amount of time you have to make a decision. And you're doing your best. Then you get the people out there. What's he paying you, Blue? All these kind of things. You're allowed to do this. Take it for granted. The umpire is there to do the best job that he can. Nobody's paying him extra the opposing coach isn't slipping a couple extra dollars in his pocket for a call or two here or there. He's there to do the best job he can. And mistakes happen, but mistakes happen in the field too. And the umpire doesn't walk over to the shortstop who just made an error and say, "Wow, kid, that you suck." It's got to be better. The decorum around not just high school baseball, but high school sports in general has to get better at.
100% could not agree with you anymore. And believe me, there's been times where, whether I was having an off day or a coach was, in my ear from the edge of the dugout, and I just wanted to rip the mask off and be like, "Coach, I've called 250 pitches. You're crying about 3 of them. Your team's made 7 errors today, and you're down 11-1. But it's all on me." So, you get those days, believe me.
Yep.
And that's the thing. I mean, we joke around and we have, laughs and things like that, Ed, but I last year when I was taking the course and I was kind of going class by class and really understanding, what it is that you guys need to do and how difficult it is to work a high school baseball game with 2 guys and the responsibilities that are there. I have, the other day you did one of our games and it's what changed my perspective of a lot of it is the balls and strikes, like you were just saying. I mean, you see 180 to 200 pitches a game. And prior to what I learned last year, it's like, guys, you're going to miss 5, you're going to miss 6, and you got to think about the change in the pitchers, the movement, the types of pitches that a kid throws, the situation. I mean, everything comes full circle when you actually see what you guys are responsible for, and I think, part of the reason why we wanted to have you on is to kind of give a little bit of an understanding as to the mechanics, not necessarily calling balls and strikes, but maybe you give a little insight, Eddie. If I give you a situation, I give you
absolutely good.
You got runners on first and second. Kid hits a base hit to right field. Can you go through and maybe I'm naive, but in all honesty, you guys could take it from coaches, and you guys do a great job of letting coaches go. The majority of umpires understand that they're competitors. But maybe if the fans that can listen and are yelling, "You suck, blue," when a guy is trying to go from, the first base side to the third base side to make a call. So you got runners on first and second. You got a base hit to right field. Can you walk through the home plate umpire's responsibility in that situation and the field umpire's responsibility from start to finish?
Absolutely. So you got from before the pitch, you got first and second. If you have less than 2 outs, you got infield fly rules in effect. Okay. So both guys have a signal with each other. They look at each other, they give a signal to remind each other that there's an infield fly situation possible. So now in the situation you brought up, that you got a routine base hit to right field. The plate guy now has the touch at third base. So that's the runner going from second to third. Right. He has to watch him touch the third base, and then he has the play at home, obviously. So that leaves the runner on first and the batter to the base guy. So let's say that kid from second base is rounding third, heading home. Guy on the plate's got to watch the touch at third. He has to play at the plate. Now, if there's no play at the plate, the kid from first is now going to third. That's the base guy. At the same time, he has to watch the batter touch first base. He's making sure the kid who was on first touches second. If he's heading to third, he's got him at third. If he might have a throwback to first base if the kid gets off the bag too far, the batter. So the base guy's got a lot of responsibility on that play. And the plate guy's got, like I said, the touch at third and the play at home. So it's 2 guys, working a game. You got 9 players on the field. You got 4 bases. You got a couple of runners. You got 3 or 4 coaches on each team. And some games you got 30, 40, 50 fans all over you. You call one side, they hate you. You call the other side, they hate you. So just 2 guys, it's us against everybody else.
And how long does that take to develop? All of those decisions, all of those machinations, all of that silent signaling, all of that takes place in how long of a span of time?
I would say from before the pitch, like I said, we look at each other, give a little signal. let's say it happens on the first pitch, you got all that happening 20 seconds, 25 seconds.
Right. So, yeah, go ahead, Joe.
Ed, for the guys that understand the game, especially the umpires, can you talk a little bit maybe about, it's really not nothing to talk about, but can you emphasize how important an angle is rather than being 2 feet away from a play?
Absolutely. Angle is a lot more important than distance. Because if you're running to try to get on top of a play, you can, A, get hit by a ball, B, get blindsided by the ball. Like, you have no idea. The angle is so much more important than getting on top of the play. Especially like on a steal at second base, you want to get a better angle as opposed to getting on top of second base, and now you might be in the way. Same thing with home plate. You got to play at the plate. Don't get on top of the plate because now you got a runner, you got a catcher, you got a ball all coming together. And the catcher gets turned one way and the ball takes him the other. You got to be able to adjust. You can't be on top of the play like that. So we definitely emphasize angle over distance.
It's so funny just to hear you say that. It just occurred to me. That's what I do as a photographer. It's angle over distance. I got a good lens.
Yeah, sure.
Play at the plate.
The problem is, Corey, the problem is when you take a bad picture, nobody says you suck, Corey.
Yes, they have.
You take a bunch of them, you delete a few, and you use the good one.
There you go.
Unfortunately, we can't do that.
I think you missed that pick. Can we redo it? I think we had him.
Well,
unfortunately, we can't do. We don't have a do-over, when we're calling games.
I know. Come on, Corey. Jesus Christ, photography and making a call on first base on a pickoff.
All right, that's it. First of all, Ed, thanks for joining us. Good night. You're out. You like that? Look, you're an umpire. Hear this, Ed. You're out.
Joey, assistant coach, sit down, Cetera.
Right. Joey seatbelt Cetera. You're out.
Oh, great story the other day.
I was going to make a point, but go ahead. I like a Joe Cetera story.
You can make the point right after me. I don't want to mention the other guy's name because I don't know how guys are personally, but I thought there was a play where kid forced our kid at second base, and I thought the kid was pulled off the base. So I think I told the story. I'm walking down the line, and I wouldn't let it go. And I'm like, come on! I pulled him into right field. Come on, we can't miss that. So Eddie's on the third base side. He puts his mask under his arm, and he walks over, and he goes, Joe, let it go, Joe. Let it go. And I'm like, but Ed, I thought he pulled him. And he goes, Joe, let it go because you're the assistant coach. And I don't have to listen to you, Joe. I woke back, Carson goes, what did he say? I'm like, yeah, he told me I'm just the assistant. I can't say anything.
Joey, assistant coach. Hey, Ed, have you ever...
It's great.
Have you ever had...
I love having that rifle.
That's it. One shot.
Have you ever had an assistant coach try to throw a cut ball that's been removed from the game back into action to the benefit of his pitcher?
You can't get that past Eddie Ahearn. He picked that up in 12 seconds.
Exactly. And the problem is, kids these days,
they don't lose
time. There's a cut on this ball. Can you take it out?
Oh, it's unbelievable.
They have no idea. And the assistant coaches, the assistant pitching coaches, who know what to do, and they want the scuff ball in the game, and the kids are like, I need a new ball. And they, what the hell are you doing?
All right, well, listen, it's high school baseball. They got a lot to learn. Here's one for you, Ed. Well, you know what? Yesterday I was at Park Ridge Waldwick, and I thought the umpiring crew did a good job in the game. There was one play, first and second, one out, fly ball to the right field side of center field, but definitely center field. A kid, runner from second base, gets off the base, then goes back to tag, and then moves on to third. Parkridge throws the ball in on appeal. Umpire calls him out. Now, it was a situation where, and I had the same sight line as the umpire. I was just further behind. I had the angle. He had the distance. But, he could take care of both of those things correctly. He can see if both are in his line of sight. He can handle, the base umpire I'm talking about can handle catch and foot on bag. Is that correct?
Correct. That's his job in that situation where you got first and second, you got two runners. So you get a fly ball, so I'm guessing you said to right center field?
Yeah, definitely center field, but to the right of the second base bag.
Okay, so as long as it's not the right fielder going to the right field line,
Right.
the way it is the base guy lines himself up between himself, the base, and the ball. So, himself, the base, and then the ball.
Yep.
So he's got both lined up. If he's got to slide back a little bit more to get it, in his eyesight, and then the plate guy comes up and takes the play into third base.
Yeah.
But the base guy has the tag up on that.
Right, and so the plate umpire's responsibility would be to make the call at third?
Correct.
Oh, yeah. So that's the way it worked. And you had somebody down the left field line screaming, know your mechanics, know your mechanics. And it turns out...
That's what it's come to. That's what it's come to now. Parents are yelling at umpires.
Right, to know their mechanics.
Know your mechanics.
Well, that could have been a guy who took the class for 1 year and couldn't hack it, and then he got out. Anybody know anybody like that?
He's coaching.
Those guys are doing internet talk shows devoted solely to high school sports in North Jersey nowadays.
Love it.
Yeah, so it turns out that the umpires didn't know.
Can I ask Eddie some questions? I have some questions for him.
Yes.
All right. First thing, Ed,
Go.
how wide is home plate?
In high school baseball, really wide.
Depending on the score, correct, Eddie?
Yeah, exactly.
I have another question.
Depending on what umpire's behind the dish,
Yeah.
what the score of the game
What the
is, it might get a little bit wider. Yeah.
temperature, it's always bigger on colder days, I noticed.
Oh, my God, and scrimmages.
Yes.
Go.
Ed, word association. I'm going to give you two. First, word association. Tell me what comes to your mind. Joe Gambardella.
Another guy. Thank God he's an assistant coach. Both you guys, I liken it. Both guys, I liken it to a dog. He's the alpha male, and then all of a sudden the dog goes to the vet and he comes back with a cone of shame on, and he feels it and he can't do nothing. He can't, he just sits there, and that's how you and Gams are. It's great.
That's so true. Joey
Cone Richfield Glen Rock games. When we saw those Richfield Glen Rock games on our schedule, we were like, oh no, both of them together.
Yeah, and Jim Fusey. Jim Fusey sitting on Joey Anger Management's bench was no picnic either.
Oh my
I was asked,
God, you ain't
Eddie,
kidding.
I was asked to make sure I ask you about the trip to Montreal, summer baseball, summer.
Jimmy Fusey. This was, I'm guessing we were probably about 15.
That's what he said.
Something like that. So we're like 15 in Montreal, you get St. Catherine Street. It's a little, it's entertaining for a 15, 16-year-old group of baseball players. So we wind up into a couple of adult establishments, and we walk out of there, and man, that was awesome. Did you see that one girl? And Jimmy Fusey's quote, and I'm never going to let him live this down. Yeah, but she had bony knees. Jimmy, I didn't even know she had knees. Are you kidding me, Jimmy? But we had some entertaining trips. We had
I'm sure the crew.
An excellent time with a bunch of excellent baseball players too, man. I'll tell you that.
Ed, let me ask you, last thing here tonight. Now, this is also about mechanics, right? Home plate umpire before a baseball game gets to the field. You spend a lot of time at the trunk. That's a thing in high school baseball umpiring, is that quality time you spend with your partner at the trunk of somebody's uplifted tailgate on some SUV in a parking lot, correct? You guys? Absolutely. We're supposed to be there anywhere from a half hour to 45 minutes before scheduled game time. Bonding
so like
time,
I said,
right?
for myself, let's say 4 o'clock game. I'm heading out of work by 10 after 3, 3:15. I'm flying to wherever I got to go, and I'm sitting in traffic, and I fly up to the game, and visiting team's not there yet. Now it's 4:10, and here comes the visiting team, and they stroll off the bus, and they stretch and throw and take IO, and now we get started around 4:30. So we've basically been sitting there for an hour already, going over, our pregame. What happens in this situation? If you're here, if you have to do this, I got your back, and I'll be here and stuff. So it's a lot of stuff that we work on pregame, definitely.
Okay, so that is the mechanics of that. I go through the same thing, Joe, as a photographer. You know, I like to get there early.
Sure you do. Yeah, you make sure you got new Duracells in your camera. Yeah, I get it. Go ahead.
All right, Ed. So you spend all that pregame time, right? Shouldn't there be a couple minutes maybe to check the equipment, especially if you're going to be the home plate umpire? Right?
Check the team's equipment?
No, your own. You know.
Oh, of course.
I always make sure I have a Duracell, as Joey put it, or, I am a reporter also, so I like to carry a recorder, maybe to, document the post-game interview. I like a notebook, a pen, sometimes even an extra pen, right? I take all these things with me, right? So now, when the team is late and everything else, and the game's supposed to start at 4 o'clock, and now it's 4:20, and then the umpire, who spent that good hour in preparation at the tailgate of his partner's car, gets out there right before the first pitch, realizes that his chest protector is broken, Ed. What's the mechanics there? Especially when you're at Park Ridge and you got to walk over a bridge and you don't hustle out the gate and the game doesn't start until 4:19. What do we do, Ed?
Thankfully, it's never happened to me, but I do have an amazing story for you, kind of related to that.
Okay.
I would say about 6-7 years ago, it's opening day, and myself and Joe Belger Sr. are at Hackensack, and they're playing Ridgewood. So now it's April 1st or April 2nd, whatever it is, and we're sitting there, and again, it's a 4 o'clock start. This is back before they changed them to 4:15s, and it's 3:45, 10 to 4, 4 o'clock, and still no sign of Ridgewood. So we sit there, and we're BSing, and finally Ridgewood shows up, get off the bus, 3 guys at each position for infield, outfield, and finally we're like, all right, let's go. Let's grab our stuff, get to the field, and, get this thing rolling. So we do ground rules, exchange lineups and stuff, and Eddie Ahearn goes to clean off the plate, goes to smack his plate brush against his shin guards, and realizes, oh my God, I forgot my shin guards.
Shin guards.
Sitting there for 45 minutes, I forgot to put my shin guards on. So what do? I do the first inning without shin guards, and I'm like, you know what? How bad could this be? So, after the first inning, I walk down the line.
I suspect the answer to that is coming
Joe
soon.
Belger. I say to Joe Belger, I go, Joe, I got something to show you when we get back to my car. He says, what? I said, you'll see. Don't worry about it. So thankfully, I was cowering like a little child behind this big, giant catcher, thank God, for the whole game. And never got hit. I get back to my car. He says, what the hell you got to show me? I pop open my hatch. I flip out my 2 shin guards that are sitting in the back seat, and I throw them on the ground. He goes, what the hell? No! You did what?
Oh, you could have paid dearly for
so I don't know how the guy with the chest protector yesterday, worked out, but that's how I handled my situation.
Well, how it worked out.
Smart, though.
Yeah, how it worked out is he moseyed on over back to the car and got another chest protector or something. Anyway, game started late, but listen, the overall theme of this is, A, we wanted to have you on because you offer a great perspective for umpiring. Of umpiring. Guy's been doing it a long time. Joey swears that you're one of the best in the game. I don't know. I'm just a photographer. Joe said he's breaking my chops about my analysis. He says I don't understand the game. He says because I say a lefty's fastball tails away from a right-hander that I'm, not equipped to make these type of analyses. Anyway, I just want to say thank you for coming on the show tonight. And it is, part of our plan this year is to keep bringing on guys from different. Listen, we can get coaches on. We can talk about, who you're going to start on Saturday, and we will do that as the state tournament gets going and we run out of ideas. But we've had a few different series here of different people coming on, and I really appreciate the fact you lending your expertise to umpiring and maybe put a human voice on the guy behind the mask here, where you don't have to stand at the backstop and tell him he sucks. It's it's another human being. That's all. And the worst thing that happens.
I appreciate the opportunity because, like you said, like parents and even some coaches and the ones who aren't really familiar with us, a lot of us and stuff, they just look at us as guys who are out there. Oh, you're just here to make a paycheck.
Yeah,
well, that's not what it's about for a lot of us. Like we have this group of us. We call ourselves the Whack Pack. There's like 8 or 9 of us. We're a lot of them very, the very good umpires in our association. We act like a bunch of children off the field and stuff, and we text back and forth all day long. Literally 250 texts every day. about our games yesterday and stuff like that. But when we get on the field, we bust our asses, we hustle, and like I said, we're probably the best, of the best in our association and stuff. And we take it seriously when we're on the field, but we realize we're high school baseball umpires. So like
Eddie, it's funny too because you mentioned, I know the guys you're talking about. Not every one of them, but the majority of the guys, and the guys that have been around. And the greatest thing is that you do have guys that sometimes in the past have made it about them, and the guys that you're talking about in that group, they don't make it about them. They make it about the game. Every single one of them, to a man at some point has come up and after a game or maybe down the road has said, Joe, you know what, or I've missed that one, or I was blocked. We had a guy the other day in Rob Neely was doing a game, and we thought there was a situation where something happened and he may have missed it. He was at first base and he in between innings said, you know what, I was shielded. I didn't get a good look at it. I'll keep it. Just things like that. The gamesmanship, we said before about, you guys understand you let coaches go because coaches are on the field and coaches are trying to do a job for their team. And within reason, you guys let coaches go, without having the coaches make a mockery of the game. But what I don't feel, and I've always felt this regardless, is that the message that you got to kind of get out there, and part of the reason, if this helps, it does, is when the fans are watching the game, watch the game. It's when that shortstop turns around and says something to an umpire that's disgraceful to the game. The umpire's not climbing over the fence telling the parent that you suck as a parent. So to have those roles reversed is not right. I think there's no place in the game for it, and whoever may hear this, if word gets out there, athletic directors alike, when that stuff goes on, it needs to be stopped immediately, whether it's baseball, football, basketball. Officials are there to do the best job that they can, and as an administrator, as a coach, and as somebody
Joey
who
administrator.
has a lot of... Yeah, Joey administrator. But in all seriousness, there's no place for it. We had it in North Arlington before, and I'll mention his name. Leighton Yates was behind the plate. And you've been at North Arlington, you know how close that is. Curveballs around the plate, whatever. And there it was. Come on, Blue. You're missing a good game. You suck, Blue. Come on, what do you want to get out of here, Blue? Yeah, it was 11-0 in the sixth. And he's trying to squeeze a kid. It's just... There's no place for it. You guys don't deserve it. Any sport, any level. If it happens by us, we remove them immediately, and I hope that athletic directors and administrators alike jump on board, and the minute you hear it, get them out. Get them out.
Yeah, absolutely. And we rely on, like you said, coaches and site supervisors and ADs and stuff to take care of stuff like that. Because as much as, we can take a little bit of them from the fans, and ooh and the eyeing, and hey, you missed that one. It's part of the job. We get it. But when it keeps on going, then profanity starts, and all right, go take care of that guy, please. Get rid of him, get rid of her, whoever it is, someone's mom, someone's dad. Make them walk away. We take it from the coaches, which for the most part they don't do it. Like, they do it the right way. Even like some of the guys who have a reputation for being difficult and pain in the asses. To me, they do it the right way. I show them respect, they show me respect. And it goes from there. But it's the fans, the parents who sit in their chair, like we talked about earlier, 250 feet away, telling you how much you suck and how you just there to take a paycheck. And the ones I like are, hey, go both ways.
Right,
so you're telling me I'm cheating is what you say. It's code word for you're cheating.
Right.
You're favoring the other team. You think I really care who wins the game?
Right.
I think he used to care if I won.
He's just worried about whether
if I beat Gambardella, you used to care. I know you used to root for me subconsciously. Listen, in your mind.
The only thing us umpires want to see you and Gambardella in is like a midget wrestling match, right?
Listen, I thought this whole thing was going great until Ed Ahearn admitted that there's only eight good umpires in the Umpires Association. I'm on the bad side.
You didn't say that. He didn't say that.
Oh,
Don't get Eddie in trouble.
Sorry, I thought
Eddie in trouble. Come on.
Sorry, I thought he said that.
Let's check the tape. Let's check the tape on that, and don't edit that part out, Corey.
Eddie Ahearn, umpire extraordinaire. Thanks for doing this tonight. Thanks for putting up with Joey, administrator, face mask, first base coach Sotero over the years. We will do this again, and we will see you next week on Talkin Baseball. Have you ever missed a call, Eddie? Is that a no? Ugh.
I think we lost him.
I think we lost him. All right, hold on.
He hung up on us. He hung up.
Follow the leader.